Islamic terrorists are living in houses like this while many Americans can't afford rent. So they went and they obviously stormed these two guys' houses, and this is one of the houses. This is a $1.7 million basically mansion. I mean, this house is gigantic. This is a huge house.
Good morning. On Saturday, a protest was held outside Gracie Mansion, where I live with my wife, Rama. Neither of us were home at the time. This was a vile protest rooted in white supremacy entitled Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City. I'm the first Muslim
And then somebody who was Islamic threw a bomb at them. But you're not going to mention that.
mayor of our city.
And I think it's important that he mentions that he's the first Muslim mayor of the city. I think that it's very obvious that there is a certain subset of Muslims that are in America and in Western countries that try to actively downplay any instance of bad behavior that Muslims do and then immediately play it off like it's something else or try to cry Islamophobia or some other variation of that. The most ironic and funniest thing about this is that we have a bigger issue with radical Islam and this terrorism shit than countries in the Middle East do. They're worried about sending their people up to Europe because Europe has more radical people than they have, and they're the Muslim countries. So this entire idea that it's Islamophobic to go after these terrorist people is insane.
Of New York City. I'm the first Muslim mayor of our city.
Yes.
Anti-Muslim bigotry is nothing new to me, nor is it anything new for the 1 million or so Muslim New Yorkers who know this city as our home.
So this is basically what happened, is that somebody did a protest, and then someone else threw a nail bomb into the protest while screaming Allahu Akbar, and they were inspired by ISIS, which is a Muslim terrorist group. And then the Muslim mayor comes up and he talks about how terrible it is that people don't like Muslims. Can you believe this? And also, if I take a step back, this isn't helping Muslims. It's not. It's just making everything worse. You don't lose anything by condemning people that are openly trying to throw bombs around and speaking and playing English about why they're doing it.
While I found this protest appalling, I will not waver in my belief that it should be allowed to happen.
He's defending terrorism? Yes.
Ours is a free society where the right to peaceful protest is sacred. It does not belong only to those we agree with. It belongs to everyone.
So you should have just started your speech like that. It would have been fine.
I will defend that right every day that I am mayor, even when those protesting say things that I abhor. Let me also be clear about something else. New York City will never tolerate violence, whether from protests or counter-protests. Many of the counter-protesters met this display of bigotry peacefully, with a vision of a city that is welcoming to all.
Yes.
But a few did not. Two men, Amir Balat and Ibrahim Kayumi, traveled from Pennsylvania and attempted to bring violence to New York City. They are suspected of coming here to commit an act of terrorism.
Yes.
There is video of these two individuals throwing two devices towards the protest. The police department has determined that these were improvised explosive devices made to injure, maim,
bombs,
or worse. Thanks to the swift and decisive actions of NYPD officers at the scene, both men were immediately taken into custody.
And you can see how he never even talks at all about the intent or the reason why the bombing happened. He had no problem saying that Jake Lang was a white supremacist that was anti-Muslim and that he's a Muslim and Muslims get a bunch of hate in America. And the thing is that you never connect these two things, that a lot of average reasonable people see this and they look at this and they say, why is Zohran sweeping for Muslim terrorism? Why is he trying to downplay this? Why is he spending more time talking about why Jake Lang is bad than why the people that did this threw the bomb? It's obvious. And in my opinion, the reason why is because he's a Muslim too. I think that's the reason. I think that he's sharing ethnic and also religious solidarity with them, and he's protecting their actions. I think that's what he's doing.
Devices they brought taken off of our streets.
These people put their religion above the country. And this is a huge component of what's going on, is you have people, there are some people who put their country over their religion, and you have other people that put their religion over their country. The people that put their religion over their country and end up on the side of terrorists should not be in America, period. They should not be in America at all.
I want to commend the officers who were on site. They faced a chaotic situation that very quickly could have become far more dangerous.
This is true. The officers are absolute fucking heroes. Like, I can't believe, like, they threw a bomb and this guy just ran after him. Like, that was insane.
NYPD Chief Aaron Edwards and Sergeant Luis Navarro ran towards the danger so that others could run to safety.
Yeah.
They are here with us now, and I want to thank them today publicly as I did yesterday privately, and to thank the dozens of other officers who responded without hesitation. That is courage. That is selflessness. And I'm deeply grateful to both of them and to every member of the NYPD who works every single day to keep New Yorkers safe. As the NYPD continued their investigation yesterday, they found a third suspicious device in a vehicle on East End between 81st and 82nd Street. Out of an abundance of caution, they conducted a number of limited evacuations of nearby buildings before removing the device from the area. Once the device was removed, those evacuated were allowed to return to their homes. I am grateful for their continued work to keep New Yorkers safe. And let me say this plainly. Anyone who comes to New York City to bring violence to our streets will be held accountable in accordance with the law.
Yeah.
As this case continues to develop, I will remain in close contact and communication with our police commissioner. I want to say thank you once again to everyone who acted on Saturday to protect their fellow New Yorkers and to uphold the values of this city. Now, I would like to invite Police Commissioner Tisch to say a few words.
Well, there it is. So you've got somebody who's going up there and not saying why they threw the bomb, but spending a minute talking about how bad it is that people are racist against Muslims. I think that next time you're probably going to get a bigger protest because there's nothing that's contributed more to, your perception of Islamophobia or the negative perception of Muslims than when Muslims inside of positions of power or any degree of influence downplay and try to hide the bad actions of Muslims that are doing something wrong. And I think it's just disgusting. It's completely disgusting. I'm shocked, to be honest, that, people put up with this. I don't know why Americans put up with this. I think that, Americans are just so massively cucked. And I think it's just white people in the West in general are just so massively cucked that they're unwilling to just come out and say very clearly, this is unacceptable. This is Muslim terrorism. Why aren't you saying this? And you should leave your position if you can't say this, right? Which is clearly what it is. But there are so many white people that aren't able to do that because they're afraid of being called a name that they have no problem letting their country be run by literal bombers. These are people trying to throw bombs and kill people, and it's preferable to a white person to let that happen than to be perceived as a bad name. It's just so fucking pathetic, man. It really is. And it only radicalizes people against Muslims. It will. And I think that this definitely, like, if you think about this event, did Zohran's approach to this, and this is an interesting way to look at it, and I'll see what you guys think about this. Did Zohran's approach to this event increase or decrease the negative sentiment for Muslims inside of America? What do you think? Did it make it go up or down? Because in my opinion, I think it made it go down. Or sorry, made it go up. It increased it. Yes, exactly. And so that's the main issue, right? Is that you have somebody here who's openly justifying and trying to downplay terrorism, right? Trying to downplay terrorism and doing this. I think it's a huge problem. It also distracted libs from the war. His wife supports the October 7th attack. Oh, I mean, if his wife supports it, I think that he probably does too. I mean, that's just probably what happens. I mean, I'm not saying for sure, but like if I had to bet on it, then that's probably what I would assume. And so, it's like, who doesn't like who has that opinion, right? Some correction increased. Yeah, exactly. Like, I would never, the thing is that for something like this, I would never vote for a person like this. These people shouldn't even be in America, if you want me to be honest. I don't think they should be. I think these people are total fucking terrorist sympathizers. I think that they enable terrorism, they downplay terrorism, and they want to import more terrorism. That what their mindset is, and this is maybe not Zohran specifically, but I think that a lot of people like this, their mindset is to let's import a bunch of terrorists into the country country that can be radicalized and then make it to where you can't criticize them or they'll be radical. So basically mass migrate a bunch of people over here who are violent and then say that you can't criticize about you can't criticize mass migration because then the people here will be violent. It's absolutely fucking insane that this is happening. And my negativity is rising. I can see why. I absolutely can. So, yeah, I mean, Jake is a racist. Yeah, but so is this. This is obviously like, I mean, and here's the issue, right? Is that Jake can be a racist and he can do whatever he wants, but he was the one who was being he was being a peaceful peaceful protester, right? And that's really what matters, is that if you're peacefully protesting, nobody should be throwing a bomb at you. And to the extent that, and think about it like this, right? Is that imagine that you have two groups of people. You have a peaceful protester, and you also have a terrorist that's trying to throw a bomb into a crowd of civilians. And more time is spent trying to demonize and condemn the viewpoints of the peaceful protester than the person who threw the bomb. Do you really think that there is any form of justice, rationality, common sense, or anything with that at all? Absolutely fucking not. So no, I totally reject this. I think that it's completely wrong. So yeah. And racist is the only word used against whites. Yeah, these people are racist themselves. But you're debating feelings because words, not the words themselves. You're debating the feelings words cause, not the words themselves. Well, I'm debating really. I don't know exactly. Ratting here. Well, let me pull this up. So he's not downplaying it. Why do you think he didn't mention the fact that? Why do you think he didn't mention the fact that the person who threw the bomb said Allahu Akbar and was inspired by ISIS? And we're going to go through this because I don't know. Okay, let me ask you another question. If there was a Muslim protest and the person threw the bomb and they said white power and they were inspired by the KKK, do you think that he would have told people about what their motivations were? Do you think he would have mentioned that in his speech? Not trying to read his mind. I'm asking you what you think. Like, what do you think? 1,000%. Okay. So you've just acknowledged that there is a distinction where he is so why is it? What do you think the reason is that he's not, he would be willing to call out a white supremacist, but not willing to call out an Islamic terrorist? Why do you think that is? We're going to get there. Votes? You don't think that it has anything to do with the fact that he has the same identity as this person? And also, by the way, does that make it better? I feel like that's just as bad. Yeah, isn't that just as bad? You don't think that there's any own group, no votes in power? Okay. Well, the fact is that I can't really... The thing is that, you know what the truth is? I'm right and I think you're right. I think that he's also doing it for votes too. I think you're probably right about that. But I think to downplay the fact that... And also, like, he's drawing a connection to himself, etc. And it's what he didn't say. Yes, definitely. And also, you're not reading minds so much as judging actions. Actions speak louder than words. Yes, definitely. And Chatter ain't wrong. A white Democrat would have downplayed it as well. You know what? I think that's a great point. And you actually, that is a good point that you're doing. He just doesn't use the words that you want to hear. Well, no, but like, and also I think that there is a huge issue with this happening because also like if you, let's use second order effect logic here. If losing votes would mean calling out Islamic terrorism, then that would mean anybody that's doing that would probably be a supporter of terrorism that would be a problem in itself, right? And also, he isn't using the words I want to hear. I want to hear when a Muslim terrorist throws a bomb into an unarmed group of civilians, I want to hear that they are a Muslim terrorist and they should be sent to jail forever. That's what I want to hear on TV. And if I don't hear that on TV, I don't want to hear a single fucking thing about the person who they threw the bomb at. That's the thing. And so if you want to talk about that, yeah, I do want to hear that. Absolutely. Because he's actively trying to misrepresent it. They're all politicians, man. I talk to their potential voters, all of them. I get it. I understand what you're saying. But at the end of the day, he is enabling terrorism. He's sweeping for terrorism. And I do think that there is an own group bias that's happening. Absolutely there is. And even by your own admission, there's a second order own group bias that's happening because you're implying that if he criticizes Islamic terrorism, Islamic people will not vote for him, which means that they are exhibiting an own group bias for terrorism too, which is still as big of a problem. So I see what you're saying, but I think you can hopefully see what I'm saying too about this. And it's a huge problem. If it was in reverse, Republicans would do the same. Well, I don't know about that. I have no idea. I think you have to think about it before. And you would want to hear a thing if it's a Christian terrorist threw a bomb into a crowd. Yeah. And all of them left, right, but we should call that out like you do. I do. I'll call it out every time. You know what? I don't like the way you said that, but I don't think that you're bringing up a point that's totally wrong. You're not going to get banned. So those idiots are captured by their narrative. They're not allowed to acknowledge any deviation. That's true, too. I wonder what his speech would have been like if the bomb killed any white supremacists. Well, I don't know, right? I mean, he probably would have still tried to downplay it. And so here's another part of it.
Defendants have admitted that they acted on Saturday because of ISIS. As alleged, both defendants have admitted that they acted on Saturday because of ISIS.
Ooh,
as Kayumi
not a
was
good
being
place
placed
to be
into an NYPD vehicle following his arrest, a person in the crowd asked why he had done this. As shown on NYPD body-worn camera footage referenced in the complaint, Kayumi responded with ISIS.
Nope.
And at the precinct, after being advised of his Miranda rights and waiving those rights, Kayumi said in recorded post-arrest statements that he had watched ISIS propaganda on his phone and that his actions that day were partly inspired by ISIS.
Yeah, I mean, this is a literal person that got inspired by terrorism. It's pretty fucking simple, honestly. Seems obvious what happened.
The complaint also details statements made by Amir Balat after his arrest. En route to the NYPD precinct, Balat made spontaneous statements without being questioned by NYPD officers that were captured
Big
on
mistake.
body-worn camera footage.
No wonder the bomb didn't go off. These guys aren't good decision makers.
She said, this isn't a religion that just stands when people talk about the blessed name of the prophet. We take action, we take action. As well.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who has this viewpoint needs to be locked up. It's just that simple. Anybody who thinks that criticism of their religion is acceptable to be met with violence needs to be locked up, deported, or removed from public society one way or another. It's not even a question.
Well as, if I didn't do it, someone else will come and do it.
And I think this is true. And there is a huge problem with this. People that think that you can't criticize their ideology, like whether it's, the ICE people, whether it's Islamic people, whether it's any of these people, any of this ideology is just completely unacceptable, period. And it's shocking to me that so many Americans don't want to call this out exactly for what it is. And we're starting to see a lot more of it happening, which I'm very happy about.
And later, after waiving his rights, he requested paper and wrote a message declaring in part, I pledge my allegiance to the Islamic State. Die in your rage, you kuffar. Now, die in your rage.
Kuffar, I think, is infidel, I'm pretty sure.
Rage is a commonly known ISIS slogan, and kuffar is an Arabic term that refers to non-believers.
Yeah.
He also told investigators that he had hoped to carry out an attack even bigger than the Boston Marathon bombing, which he noted resulted in only 3 deaths.
I don't see why anybody's surprised by this. Yeah, this guy's he's just a super radicalized terrorist. That's obviously what happened.
These statements, as set forth in the complaint, make clear that this was not random violence. This was a planned attack motivated by extremist ideology and inspired.
And the reality is that the FBI probably dropped the ball on this because they're not doing enough to monitor these people and actively take proactive action against them. Like the people that are going around making these bombs, doing this terrorist stuff, these people I think are probably trackable, and you can probably figure this out ahead of time. How did he get radicalized in the U.S.? I don't know. The thing is that there's a lot of, and I think that like, why is it that a lot of young guys have this happen? Young guys, I think, get radicalized, whether it's by, white supremacy, whether it's by a gang, whether it's by, a religion, whether it's by another political stuff, like the ICE stuff. Like, people get radicalized. I think it's primarily young men, because young men don't really have a direction in the world and a place to fit in. And because of that, they look at the position they're in, they're unhappy about it, and so they lash out and they attack somebody because they're trying to fight back against the injustice that they think that they're being put on. That's really where I think it's happening from. Social media rewards extremism? Yes. Americans have reached a level of acceptable tolerance. They're afraid if they call it out, they'll be met with more violence. They would rather have paper cuts than gashes. Americans don't realize they don't have to deal with either one. Yeah, I know. I didn't know the additional context, and assuming this mayor had information, then he absolutely should have acknowledged this as terrorism. Anybody who yells Allahu Akbar whenever they're throwing a bomb, that's an Islamic terrorist. Like, what are we talking about? Like 99.9%. This is like somebody saying white power and then saying, is this a white supremacist? Well, we don't know.
A violent foreign terrorist organization.
Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Like, it's like, this is the most obvious 2 + 2 = 4. Duh.
The complaint alleges not only why the defendants acted, but how. Preliminary testing has determined that one of the devices contained triacetone triperoxide, or TATP, also commonly referred to as Mother of Satan, a highly volatile explosive that has been used in multiple terrorist attacks over the last decade.
Oh, boy.
As we have previously discussed, the NYPD identified a vehicle yesterday on East End Avenue that was linked to the defendants. Inside that vehicle, investigators recovered handwritten notes referencing TATP explosive and listing chemical ingredients for the type of explosive device used by the defendants on Saturday. Make no mistake.
Not good.
What happened this weekend was incredibly dangerous, and the ongoing investigation will be exhaustive. From the first moments of that investigation, the NYPD has been working seamlessly with our federal partners.
See, what needs to happen, this is the problem, is that people like this don't exist in a vacuum. They exist inside of a network of a lot of other people that think and behave like they do. And the problem is that the government is very conservative about taking liberal and preventative action for people like this. And I think this is the reason why more people get blown up, and this is the reason why more people die. It's because they don't want to come out and say, this behavior is not acceptable in any reason, and we're going to go after everybody who's corroborating with them and then put them all in jail. Like, anybody who's talking with somebody like this, anybody who is, involved with somebody like this needs to be put on a watch list. If you communicated with this person, you probably need to be brought up on a charge as conspiracy, corroboration, cooperation with this. Like, we have to be Old Testament with this, because if we're not, these people will just continue to respawn. You have to actually remove them at a faster rate than they're being created. And the issue is that we're not doing that.
Many of whom
and we're never proactive.
Here.
We are never proactive with this, which is a huge mistake. It's a massive mistake. I'm unfortunately, I'm unfortunately expecting to see a lot more of this happening in the future, right? And don't you think that's purposely to keep people in groups together rather than together? No, I don't think so at all. Because if it's done purposely to keep them in a group together so they can all be monitored collectively, then what use is the group if they're still throwing the bombs? Like, at that point, right? I mean, I feel like it's kind of a mistake to even say that. I don't think that's the case at all. So, according to CIA whistleblower, there are 8K confirmed terrorists that invaded during the Biden admin. I'd be surprised if it wasn't more, honestly. It seems like there's a lot of these. So, yeah, does it mean the killing is a problem of the roots are already off the table? I think that's generally what I think is, that's definitely a huge problem. Yeah, you're right. And too many people are too comfortable. I think so, too. Should we just ban Islam and Muslim from Western world and force them to make their own prosperity rather than compromise ours? I don't think that you should ban it completely, no. But I think that whenever you look at people that are part of a group that are in a, this is like a racial or a religious group, then you need to approach it as if it's a problem. I think that because Islam is a religion, the government and I think Americans in general are afraid to approach it from a aggressive perspective because they're worried about it being effectively a breakdown of freedom of speech. But the problem is that when somebody's religion is enabling them to be violent, whenever it's enabling them to blow things up, etc., this is something that transcends religious freedom. This is something that obviously is a crime. And I think that's the main issue that's happening. And so, yeah, ban it. I mean, a lot of people do want to see it banned, right? And I think that's probably, like, eventually, if things like this continue happening, here's the reality. There will be enough people that banning Islam and then effectively compromising the First Amendment will be on the table. And I know people might not imagine that. You might say, oh, there's no way that could ever happen. That could easily happen. If you have 4 or 5 more of these bombings, what do you think average people are going to do whenever they see that all of these bombings are coming from the same groups of people? Think about how many of these trans shooters have happened and how that shifted people's perspective about trans people in general. This could easily happen. So this idea that, oh, well, it could never happen because it's in the Constitution, you can change the Constitution and you can just also do something that's unconstitutional. The government has done it many times. So I don't want to see that happen. I don't think it's a good thing, but I think that people will take drastic action like that if this problem is not addressed. It's possible 1,000%. It is. America's Christian, and it is a Christian country. America is a Christian country. It's always been a Christian country. It's been founded on Christian values. This is obvious. So I'm willing to cut my finger to do that, to speak. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But common people are sheep and they'll believe whatever the bullshit media feeds them. Yeah, but eventually it's kind of like with COVID. So this is the issue, like with what happened with COVID, is that when COVID happened, you had a lot of people who were effectively when COVID happened, you had a lot of people that were effectively just okay with going along with COVID restrictions. They were okay with it. And then at a certain point, it got so extreme that it broke the trust of the public completely. And I think that now the public doesn't trust the government on a very fundamental level. It's not something that's like in one level or another level. I think it's something that's complete. The fact that calling a terrorist attack has become controversial in the United States has told us how far we have fallen. This isn't a right or left issue. It's a literal terrorist attack where bombs were thrown by 2 ISIS-inspired Islamist men. Say it for what it is. Exactly. Well, they're trying to hide it. They're trying to hide it because they want to downplay it. And I think that guy in chat was right, that they're downplaying it for votes, but they're also downplaying it for other reasons too. It's a sad realization, isn't it? And yeah, these guys also, keep in mind, these weren't 2 guys that were, like 2 sidelined poor people. These weren't socioeconomic factors that drew these guys to terrorism. They lived in $1 million, $2 million houses, or at least one of them did. So, I don't know if both of them lived in the same house. I have no idea. But, this is people that just got radicalized on the internet by radical, language and stuff like that. Pure insanity. There are no white people. I'm beige colored. I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty close to white, but neither am I. You're right about that. And so, yeah, do you think the white guilt can be fixed? I think that it can be, yeah, but it'll take time. And I think that it has to start at an educational level. I think the problem is that basically people with anti-white sentiments have gotten inside of educational apparatuses and also media apparatuses, institutions, I guess you could say, it's a better word, institutions, and then they have co-opted them to create narratives that are detrimental to, anybody looking at a European identity in a positive way. At a certain point, you have to ask yourself, who is this immigration helping? Who is this immigration in the best interest of? Because what I'm seeing is that it's very clearly not in the best interest of Americans. I'll tell you that. It seems extremely obvious that's the case. So that's it. No more allowed. I mean, I said this a long time ago, and I'm going to keep saying it. I will continue saying it. Why is it the same religion, though? Well, I think that there are some, like, again, I'm reading the Quran. I'm going through it. I'm going to read through it, and, I can come back to you on that and give you maybe an answer. But the reality is that I think that there are probably structural reasons inside of Islam why it's happening, and I think that there are cultural reasons why it's happening. I think that there might be a minority cultural reason, and I think also there is an acceptance of it. So basically, why is it that we have a bigger problem with this kind of stuff in places like Europe and America than they do in Islamic countries? I think that's the real question you have to ask. And as soon as you figure out the answer to that, you're going to know how to solve the problem here too. So that's what my opinion is.